Let's talk about Gleanings, which is available now, esteemed audience. And true to my word, I'm not going to torture you by telling you about your universe. What does esteemed audience need to know about Gleanings?
These are stories within the world of Scythe. For those of you who haven't read Scythe, it's a world where humanity has conquered death and we get to live forever. And the only way that you can die is to be chosen for death by a Scythe, which is sort of they're like these Jedi kind of characters that are their job is to thin out the population. And they are revered and respected, and they're so powerful. Unfortunately, there are some bad ones. And the story itself is about trying to get rid of the bad Scythes and bring it back to being what it was meant to be. Now, these stories are stories from various different points of view. You know, I take some of the characters that are some of everyone's favorite characters. You know, Scythe Curie, for instance, she's one of the main Scythes, and we get to see her as a teenager. We get to see when she first became a Scythe. We get to see the bad guy, Scythe Goddard, when he was a creepy 16-year-old on the Mars colony, because we know that the Mars colony was destroyed in this horrible, tragic accident. But we've also come to understand that maybe it wasn't an accident and that he was somehow involved. Well, now we get to see that story. There are stories that I co-wrote with my son Jarrod and his partner Sophia Lapuente. There's a story that I co-wrote with David Yoon, author David Yoon, and it was just fun getting the chance to write with him. So there were a total of 5 stories that I co-authored, and the rest I wrote by myself. Total of 13 stories, 14 with the special edition. That's the Barnes & Noble special edition, because they wanted their own story, and so I wrote a story for them as well. But the stories are just, some of them are funny, some of them are dark, and they're just exploring the corners of this world that I wasn't able to explore in the trilogy.
And in exploring the world a little bit more, has that got you thinking, well, maybe rather than a trilogy, it needs to be 7 books, 8 books? Have you thought about maybe it's time to get back in?
I have thought about it, but I have not said yes or no yet. A lot of fans are asking for a prequel, so I'm considering that. The thing is, I don't want to write something just to write it, just because it's there. I got to be excited about it. I have to have that sense of passion. There has to be something that's making me want to revisit this world. So that might happen. I mean, I might write another Scythe story, but right now I have other books that I'm working on. I'm starting, you know, a brand new series, and I don't want to give that up to write another Scythe book.
Gotcha. That it's still on the table, but fans will have to be patient, and it will be better when you're excited, when it comes directly from your own enthusiasm, rather than we're all waiting.
And I know that we're all waiting feeling after Thunderhead. The day after Thunderhead was published, I was already getting emails from people saying, when's the 3rd book coming? And it's like, it was just published yesterday. I need time to write it.
But I stayed up all night reading it, and I want the next one now. When you're opening up a world that's been not more or less exclusively yours. I mean, I know that you've had editors collaborating, and your writing group people have weighed in, but it's been your story. But now you're opening it up to your son Jarrod, to these other folks that you're collaborating with in Gleanings. Is that an experience of I don't know, somebody is coming over and they want to see your most personal stuff in your home? What is it like to open up and share this world with someone else?
Well, I mean, all of them have read the trilogy, and so they know the world. Sometimes, you know, in the writing process, they'll do things that don't quite fit with the world, but that's part of the collaborative process. You know, I'll rework it to make sure that it fits the rules of the world. And I've been, you know, pretty impressed by the ability of my collaborators to to really work within the world.
Gotcha. So all still kind of friendly conversation. I mean, is it
Yeah.
a nice feeling that, hey, look how much you love my world, and you've taken it and run with it, and I don't completely hate what you've done. So this is great.
Yeah, it's been positive all the way around. I mean, you know, I'm also was working with a friend of mine, Michelle Nolden, who I've written things with before, and so she took a story. I mean, the story that she was working on was based on the idea that Antarctica, or there's one region in Antarctica that has that where the entire community collectively dreams. And so it's sort of like this inception kind of story that takes place within this communal dream, because in that region, scythes don't glean you while you're awake, they glean you in your dreams. And so if you get killed by a scythe in your dreams, then you have to report to that scythe in the morning to be killed. And writing that story with her was just so much fun. Just the combination of both of our imaginations going into the story. And it was the same way with all the collaborators. Just it's a play. It's like, here's my playground. Come join me in my playground. And it was fun. I also had the opportunity to collaborate with my daughter Joelle. And she wrote a verse, a poem for Gleanings that is actually the opening piece. And it's she's a writer also. She's working on her own novel, and it was really fun to have her be able to contribute. And I also worked with a friend of mine by the name of Mike Payne, who specializes in writing animal stories. And a lot of fans always ask me, do pets get to live forever in the world of Scythe? And so I thought the perfect person to tell a story about pets in the world of Scythe was Mike Payne. And so I got the chance to collaborate with him on a story called Never Work with Animals.
Did your daughter know that she was going to be the opening poem when she wrote that?
No, she didn't. And what's funny is she wrote a whole much longer thing. She started it with this piece that was supposed to be like a journal entry in a Scythe journal, and then wrote a story. But the journal entry by itself was so strong. I just told her to, why don't you just restructure it as in verse? And she did it, and it's just the perfect opening of the book.
And is she going to be writing? Well, I know she's working on her own novel now, right? So she's going to eventually be collaborating with you on a full novel, maybe, or
if she wants. And my other daughter is an artist, so I might do a graphic novel with her. I can't give that opportunity to one and not to all of them. I have to be fair to everybody. So I also write stories with my son Brendan, and we've written short stories that have gone into different anthologies. But everyone will have the opportunity, if they want it, to work with me on something.
How can non-family members get in on this? You were talking earlier about you have so many ideas and you're not going to use all of them. Like, well, if you follow you around, can we have some?
We'll toss them out here and there. They're not all good ideas.
Good enough. If I can say based on an idea by, that's
based on a bad idea by Neal Shusterman. Yeah.
Based on an idea he felt was not worth completing a novel, but this guy